afternoon, Chris, and good afternoon, Professor. In 1981, as IBM was introducing its first personal computer, 7 software engineers who worked together in Mumbai decided to set up their own business, excited by the advances in the technology. Running a business in India before the economic reforms of the early 1990s was not easy. Venture capital was not available, and investment funding amounted to about $250, close to 10,000 rupees was all available between the co-founders. But the faith in India paid off. Infosys is today one of the biggest outsourcing companies in the world, handling IT work such as software development and system maintenance for corporations across the world. We have among us today Mr. Gopalakrishnan, one of the co-founders of this amazing company that is profoundly changing the image of India. Born in Trivandrum, Kerala, Chris did his Masters in Physics and Masters in Technology and Computer Science from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He started his career at Bharti Computer Systems before he co-founded Infosys. He held the office of Chief Operating Officer before becoming CEO. Quoting Mr. Narayan Murthy on the announcement, he said, "Chris is gentle but firm, consultative yet decisive, and thoughtful yet action-oriented." Chris is recognized as a global thought leader, and he was selected in Thinkers 50, an elite list of 50 business thinkers in the world. Chris led Infosys successfully during the global financial crisis, and it speaks volumes of his leadership and resilience he has shown to steer the company successfully in the past 2 years. Chris also chairs the Confederation of Indian Industries of Tax Council and Services, and is also a member of ACM, IEEE Computer Society. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, please join me in welcoming Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Infosys Technologies, to talk about Infosys past, present, and future.
Really appreciate this opportunity to interact with you. What I want to do is share with you some thoughts in the next 25-30 minutes, and then we'll make it interactive. And the thoughts I want to share, which you have kind of categorized into or made it into 3 parts. I'll talk about the operations of Infosys, or from an internal perspective, how we have changed in the last 30 years. Second, I'll talk about from a go-to-market perspective, how we have changed in the last 30 years and how we are changing in the future. And then, very briefly, talk about 3 incidents in the last 3 decades. And maybe open it up for question and answer after that. Those 3 incidents are just to maybe give you ideas when you look at Infosys on what to study, use experiences, etc. Before I start, does anybody need an introduction to Infosys? So, very briefly, started in 81, 7 of us, as was mentioned, $250. First year revenue was $120,000. 30 years later, we have more than 120,000 people. Revenue, projected revenue is $6 billion, a market cap of approximately $40 billion, and operations around the world, clients around the world. 97% of our revenue comes from outside India, and 3% comes from India. So we are a global company in all aspects, investors, customers, employees, every aspect. We are a global company, registered here in India, headquartered here in Bangalore. So that's the introduction to Infosys. So from an internal perspective, how have we changed over the last 30 years? When we started the company, the focus was just surviving as a company. Because that's the first thing any startup would have to think about. How do we get predictable revenues? How do we create a brand to attract employees? How do we sell your services? How do you find customers? How do you have profits that you can reinvest in the business? How do you have cash to invest in the business, etc. So the first actually 10, 12 years were focused on survival. And started by 7 of us, so we used our personal networks to attract other people. In those days, of course, we would go to IITs and try and recruit because the numbers were very small, and it so happened that 3 of the founders from 3 different IITs actually. So we had networks within those IITs. Initially we started selling to just one customer. And we had to leverage the global delivery model because that was what was unique from our side. And in those days, telecommunication link between India and the US, India and outside, were not yet established, were too expensive, etc. So we started working with a product company, an ERP product company. We would develop the next version of software out of India. And our global delivery model means that we have to send the software back once a month or once in 2 months, etc. using tapes. And we would send 2 tapes, one to one courier and to another courier, and if it takes 15 days to reach there, it's fine because it's the next version of the product. And we would go on site and maintain and support the product. It was not very predictable because we were working with a product company, etc. So to get the predictable revenue stream that we wanted, we bought an original mini computer, installed it here in Micro, Bosch, and they would use the computer during daytime and we would use it in the night time to develop the product. So that's how we actually got the first Indian customer. That's why we moved to Bangalore, and that's when we got some predictable revenue streams. Right, when we did that. It was a struggle. It was a struggle, a lot of challenges. The economy was closed and everything required government permission and things like that. In fact, when we applied for the license to the computer, we applied for one model. By the time the license came through after 18 months, the model was no longer, production. So we had to go back and change the model, and it took another 6 months to get the license changed. So a lot of struggles in those days actually. But we survived. We almost gave up in 1989. Fortunately, we went through that phase. We decided that we will go public in 1992. Invest that money in building a scalable organization. We did not go public in 1992, we went public in 1993 because that was when the first stock market scam happened in India. And so wrong time to go public. So we went public in 1992. The market also opened up and the economy opened up in 1991. It helped us actually. We took the entire proceeds and invested in building our electronic city campus. We were 300 people at that time, revenue of approximately $10 million, and we invested in a campus of 1,000 people. The heritage building, so-called heritage building in electronic city. We set up our education and research facility, quality department. We started planning for the IPO, planning for rigorous implementation of corporate governance, financial accounting norms. So a lot of things we talked about, and we also established a sales and marketing office in the US, started looking at recruiting people. We instituted an employee stock option plan so that we can create a plan and attract the best employees. So we did lots of things to create a scalable organization. So 1991 through 1991 is this phase of creating the scalable Infosys, an organization that can scale. In 1999, we were 3,000 people, $120 million revenue. That's when we listed on NASDAQ. Now this time when we listed, the objective of the listing was not about money. The objective of the listing was about a brand that we wanted to create. And we chose the toughest financial market, most competitive financial market, the most competitive market we can list ourselves. Because we said that is how we establish ourselves as a truly global company, as truly a leader in our industry. Because if in that market we can prove ourselves to be better than our peers, then that's the best branding we can have. And the third phase in this execution, the growth really started in 1991 when we were able to take advantage of all the investments we made and scale up the organization quite rapidly. And in order to scale up the organization quite rapidly, we also needed to have multiple products and services. Because we need to have a portfolio of services that you can sell, cross-sell to your clients. And so we expanded our portfolio significantly during that time frame, created multiple engines of growth. And each engine of growth will leverage the scalable model that we have created to scale up rapidly. So we created an academy for infrastructure management. We created an academy for enterprise solutions. Because that's the model which we use to scale up our application development and maintenance services. India is a very unique example of what the industry could do in creating manpower. Because India did not have manpower for the IT industry. It had not talent for the IT industry, but it did not have manpower, trained manpower for the IT industry. The industry launched a massive training program, which even today it is doing, but it's doing across multiple services and streams. So that model again, so the scalable model that we created is replicated across multiple service lines to create multiple engines of growth. And so from 3,000 people in 1999, we've grown to 120,000 people, $120 million to $6 billion. So 40 times growth in the last 10, 11 years. And so this is a period of high growth for the company. So that's from the execution viewpoint and internal viewpoint of how we've grown in the last 30 years. Now from a go-to-market and external perspective, it's about products and services, clearly. Right? So what was our value proposition when we started the company? It was about a new way of executing IT projects. Now remember that execution of IT projects is one of the business processes in any organization. Right? So we took IT as the first business process we would look at, because we were all software engineers. That's what we knew. Nothing else. So that's what we selected because that's what we knew. We firmly believed in the talent that is available in India. We had an idea that we can create a differentiated model of remotely doing software projects from India. So the first phase was establishing GDM as a viable model for delivery of services. The second phase, and this is our call Infosys 1.0 from a market perspective. The second phase is then take that successful model and establish it across multiple service lines. Right? So we said, how can we embed GDM in infrastructure management? How can we embed GDM in TPO? How can we embed GDM in consulting? How can we embed GDM in package implementation? So every service line we wanted to disrupt by using the global delivery model. So the way somebody would enter an order, the way somebody will provide customer service, the way you will implement an SAP application, an SAP product within your company. We can actually look at every single business process in an organization and see how it can be done faster, better, cheaper by leveraging GDM. That's what we went about doing in the second phase. Now this also created multiple engines of growth, multiple products. So we have now full services capability that can support a large enterprise. And the third phase is about leveraging this full services capability and becoming a strategic partner to our clients, becoming their number one supplier or from a services perspective. And we have a long way to go in order to achieve that. While doing this, we have also looked at technology trends, business trends, and integrated all that into the services we deliver. So if you look at the future, for example, the way information technology is consumed would change because of cloud technology. So we have adopted an internalized cloud into our services. And we've launched cloud-based services in the future. So that became a new engine of growth for us. So it's offering choices to our clients, creating different ways we can engage with our clients, creating multiple engines of growth, simultaneously becoming closer, more strategic, becoming a full services provider to our clients. Our client base is the global 2000 company. That's our client base. We're very clear. We are a B2B company. We serve the large enterprises. The business model is built around serving our large clients. It's a sales-driven model, not marketing-driven model. And all of these choices have its own implications. So, our marketing budget is actually very, very small. It's insignificant for a company of our size. You will not see us putting Tigerwood advertisements around the world, etc. Because that's not how we create our brand. We have, as I said, 2,000 target clients. In each of these clients, there will be 5 decision makers. So we have 10,000 people whose name, address, email address we know. So and plus of course we have to look at analyst community, we have to look at academic institutions from where we recruit. So we know exactly where we have to be known, where we want to create a brand. And so the focus is a targeted way of creating the brand awareness and things like that. It's a sales-driven model. Repeat business is almost 97%, and more than 97%. And that keeps our sales and marketing costs low. So everything is built on the choices we make, the business model that we've created, the target customers we have, and all of these things will have to kind of flow together in order to make it all work. And every one of them is a conscious decision we have made in terms of creating the organization that exists. It's ultimately about the choices you make and the decisions you make. That's what is very, very important. So now let me come to the third part of my presentation. So I said, the choices we make. Now, what are some of the tough choices we have made? Tough decisions. What are the mistakes we make? And I'll talk about 3 from the 3 different periods actually. In the 80s, when we started the company and started, of course, with software, as I said, we said, and all of us would say, we must have a domestic market to have strong international presence. If you don't have a domestic market, you can't survive just on global business. Even today, our business is 97% outside Asia. But we said, okay, that means we have to create a domestic market. So, what do we do? And we want to diversify, because everybody says we have to diversify also. So, we started a hardware business, Infosys Digital Systems. I don't know, has anybody heard about Infosys? It doesn't exist today, as far as I know. But we started Infosys Digital Systems. I started it. I became the managing director in 1985. And young engineer, so I was focused on building a product. And we said, so those days were period of import restrictions. So we identified an electronic telex machine as an opportunity. PCs were just introduced. So by putting a card on a PC, they said we can actually go from this paper-based mechanical teleprinters, etc., and move to this teleprinter based on a PC. And actually, I did very well because we created a product, and that's when I became known for my technology capabilities and things like that, especially within the organization. It so happened that we designed the hardware, we designed the software, we wrote the operating system kernel, debugged it, we wrote the editor, everything. 100% of the software was written by Infosys. Everything was written by Infosys. And it so happened that, and this was done in Jayanagar, the 5th block office. It so happened that the first time we designed the hardware and wrote the kernel, etc., the software would actually go to a loop and it will run away. It will not stop. After some time, we just look for it indefinitely, and we couldn't figure out what was the problem. Everybody tried to figure out. The hardware guys would say it's a software problem, the software guys would say hardware problem. Nobody knew what was happening. And then I got involved and found the problem. And that's where I got this geek kind of thing. So we created a successful product. We installed it in many places. One of the satisfying things that happened was when I returned back in the US in 94-95 time frame. Somebody said that in Delhi, in the BSNL office, our store and forward messaging switch was still in operation. And they said it was in a back room, nobody was allowed to enter because nobody touches it. If it touched, it may not work. So it was still open. I don't know whether it's still operation, maybe not. But it was very satisfying. We created a successful product, sold a lot of those things to BSNL. And that was DOT at that point. And that is the problem. Customer was only government. It was a defined market with its own problems and characteristics and things like that. And we found multiple problems. We said, you don't want to be dependent on government for your market. And we also did not understand the sales process. It was not fitting into how we would operate. And so 87, 88 time frame we said we'd stop this business and we'll get out of business. We sold Infosys digital systems to somebody else. We had to do that because we had by that time sold many units. And these units had to be supported by somebody. So we sold it to somebody else who was in the hardware business, and they continue to maintain the systems. So that's the first experiment we did in diversification, getting into some other business, and got out. Fortunately, I don't know, maybe first. The second incident is probably better known and well written about is our contract with GE in 1994, where we couldn't agree on the terms and conditions on how to proceed. At that point, GE was 40% of our business. 40% of our business. But small company, remember that we were probably 500 people or 600 people. And because of not agreeing to terms and conditions, we withdrew from the contract. We transitioned the contract to our competitors. And that's, one of the philosophies we have is that, whatever we do, we must do it to the best of our capabilities, to the satisfaction of our clients, do it well. And so we transitioned extremely well without them losing out in any way, and to our competitors. We taught them all the things we knew about those applications and transitioned to our competitors. But because of that, lot of things were put in place within the company. First of all, within a year, we had to find work for those people and replace that part of our revenue. And we were fortunate that we could find other customers who were willing. Remember that we were small. We had to find work for about maybe 200, 300 people at that point. We could easily do that. But it gave us tremendous confidence in our own sales and marketing capability. We started working with GE in 1989-90 when he was the first company to come to India to leverage the global delivery model. And so we had worked with them for about 6 years by that time. And you become complacent, you're getting steady revenue, etc., etc. But this forced us to go out into the market and sell. And it gave us tremendous confidence in our sales and marketing capability, on the value proposition we are bringing to the table, and our position we are taken in terms of how we sell our services. We said we will never be the lowest cost provider. And that got reinforced by this happening. We also said that we will never let any customer become more than 10% of our revenue. So we put in a series of de-risking parameters within the business. So that we will never let any customer now become more than 10% of our business. In fact, we put in other things also. So for example, in the internet boom, we said that internet-based companies or venture-funded companies should never become more than 25% of our revenues. Because we don't want too much dependency on any segment, sector, etc. Today we have a dependency on North America, which is 63% of our revenues. So it's always in the back of our minds, but that being the largest market, most open market, most multinational companies are headquartered in the US. It's not that big a challenge, though there are some concerns about the US. But we put in many other checks and balances in the system because of what happened at that time. So that's the second example, and we can get into details if you so listen. The third incident I want to talk about is relatively recent, 2007-2008 time frame. I just took over as CEO June 22nd, 2007. Everything was going fine. Our revenue that year grew 35%. We were right at the top at that point. We gave a guidance because we had seen signs of slowdown, signs of concern about the economy, etc. And so for 2008, 2009, we get a guidance of 19% growth, 19 to 20% growth. The September quarter, which is the second quarter for us, we grew 5% sequentially. Very good quarter, 5% sequentially. But September 15th, as you all know, world turned upside down, Lehman collapsed, the Western got acquired, many other companies were in serious trouble, and we were looking at a meltdown. So for the first time in the history of the company, I had to go back and revise downward the guidance we had given to the market. So instead of 19 to 21%, finally we ended up with 11% growth that year. And the next year, which is 2009-10, we said we will decline in revenues by 3 to 5%. We ended with 3% growth, and this year we started with 19 to 21%, and currently we are in the midst of announcing our results for this quarter. We announced second week of January. Our current projection is 24 to 25% growth. So 35, 11, 3, that's good. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. When you're projecting to grow at 19 to 21% growth, you have your recruitment engine working to recruit people for that, your expenses are set for that, and you're running the business. In fact, one of the questions I believe any CEO must be able to answer is, if your revenue goes down by 20%, can you maintain your margins? Can you cut your cost by 20% without impacting your business long term? If you are able to answer, that means you have resilience. If you're not able to answer, then you are in trouble. we were able to cut our costs and maintain our margins. And so my entire focus with those, first of all, we have only 15 days for the quarter end, and I have to come up with a revised guidance for the rest of the year. Remember that from 1993, when we went public to that point, we have never revised our guidance downwards. We have always revised it upwards. We didn't want to go back and do it again, so I had to get it right in that short period of time. It means holding all our customers, collecting all the numbers, revising, and I had to also redo all our expense budgets. Because, when you give guidance, you give top line and bottom line guidance, and you have to meet both. We did that. So that's not what I wanted to talk about. We can discuss that also. But we also embarked on something called IRIS. And I'm quite sure that most of you heard about IRIS also. Right? We went through, or we were going through, a change process with our employees. Because we firmly believe that the industry had grown tremendously, had created multiple service lines. Software itself has become critical to our lives, and it is important to create competencies that are required to play different roles, certifications that are necessary to reassure the employee as well as our clients that they have the relevant competencies to perform those roles. So that's the only way we can assure the client that enough attention has gone into developing this software. Enough care has gone into developing this software. It is important for the employee's perspective to know if you want to be an architect and you want to create a career system architect, being a system architect, then what are the different steps you need to take, competencies you need to have, etc. So we embark on completely re-architecting the career model for the entire company. And we have become, by then, a full services company all the way from consulting to BPO. And so every one of these we have to create career streams and take 100,000 people and map it to this complex architecture that we have created. Every single employee has to be mapped to this. And we made some mistakes in mapping that. Some people felt they were not mapped properly, they lost out, all kinds of noise in the system, blocks, etc., etc. In parallel, in April 2009, because we honored 60,000 offers we made in the campuses. We were the only company to do that. We gave them joining days and we honored those joining days. We all decided that we will not have any promotions or salary increments in April. And all employees agreed. It was a tremendous support for the organization from its employees. But IRIS actually got attributed to this also. Or people said some people said we will get increments because of IRIS. Promotions were cut because of IRIS. So poor communication was a problem. But remember that we were looking at declining revenue. So the whole focus of the management at that point was really on being in front of customers, making sure that we do not lose any customers, get growth back into the business. And then this massive exercise on change was happening in the organization. Fortunately, we have put that behind us at this point. In fact, this year, approximately 20,000 promotions will happen. In October 2009 itself, we gave promotions and increments because as soon as we saw the business coming back, we gave an increment to the employees. So April we didn't give, October we gave, and things are back to normal. And now employees are seeing benefit of all the things we did. Our competitors are following us, creating similar architecture within those companies. So the question is, massive impact because of the downturn, should we have gone through this change? I don't have an answer at this point. But I thought I'll talk about that also. It was quite a challenge, and fortunately we were able to explain and get things back. Maybe we should have communicated better, communicated more, be more focused on employees, help them understand the situation by telling them all the problems, etc. We are more focused on clients, we are more focused on the market, etc., rather than on employees. And this thing process this way. So that's the third interesting experience I thought I will share with you. I'm going to stop and let you ask questions. So we have probably about 30 minutes for questions.
Yes, I just want to know, in the next 5 to 10 years, what will be your top 3 strategic focus from the process perspective? And how do you see it growing? Means we haven't seen any inorganic growth in the company. Is it in your strategy?
So, I'm actually very, very optimistic about information technology, IT services, products, the use of information technology to have an impact on business and life over the next 20, 30 years. Very, very optimistic. And I see huge opportunities for a company like Infosys. We have 600 clients, 100 clients give us 80% of our revenues. So we have huge opportunity to grow within our base of customers and new customers we could have in the global 2000 base. There are markets we are not present. There are industries we are not present. There are certain services which are small today. Our BPO, infrastructure management, system integration, consulting. All these services are 3, 5, 10% of our revenue. So huge opportunities for growth. So there are multiple dimensions of growth that is possible. Technology is also changing. That's again an opportunity for growth. Cloud computing, mobile technology, sensor networks, huge opportunity for growth. Many of the large problems, many of the big problems facing us is humanity, sustainability, climate change, growth of emerging markets, digital consumers, mobile commerce. All these are opportunities for growth because every single one of them requires significant investment in technology. So, the opportunities for growth are significant for a company like Infosys. Of course, we need to make sure that we continue to be relevant, we continue to provide the right solutions, services for clients. To the question on acquisition, yes, it is part of our strategy, but we want to make sure that we acquire the right company at the right price with the right products and services, which is strategic to us. So we have certain parameters we have put together, and if a company fits those parameters, wants to be acquired, we know that we can keep those employees, then we will look at it. We have grown in the past on par with industry or above industry. So we have not lost out because we did not acquire. 40 times growth in the last 10 years is not something which is replicatable that easily by others. There are probably 4 or 5 companies that have grown up at that level. But that's only 4 or 5. We're really not talking about a huge universe of companies which have done like we have done. And in an industry where there is nobody dominating the market, you will have a leadership pool which is 5-6 companies, not one company. Only when growth comes down, only when somebody dominates the market, you will have 1 or 2 leaders. Otherwise, you will have multiple. So it is part of our strategy. When we find the right company, we will look at it.
I have 2 questions. I think the first one is slightly longer one. It relates to the period from say 2001 to 2002 onwards till now, where Accenture and IBM, the 2 companies, competitors to you, did not really exist in in India. Today they have become really big. In 2001, if I say it was the number one company in India, it was Infosys without any doubt. Today, I can look at 3-4 companies and say I'm not sure which one is. Right? What is your plan on dealing with this competition? What is your perception of how these guys have competed with you and have come in over here and have established certain aspects? That's my first question. My second question is that as addressing MBA students, I was wondering whether you could tell us 3 problems of yours that maybe we could attempt and give answers back to you, that okay, these are our proposals to you.
So let me answer the first one first. We have established the global delivery model as the primary model for delivery of services. So much so that has become mainstream. Our competitors have come here and set us up. When I say competitors, again, it's 1, 2, 3 maybe, not beyond that. Right? It's a small set still. Right? Second, we have been competing with these companies for many years. When in 1993, IBM 92 maybe, 92, 93, IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, everybody was allowed to come back into India. They left in 1977. They came back in 92 and they opened it. At that point, a lot of people predicted that Indian software industry would be dead. Because we can't attract people, we can't sell us, because we're selling in the global markets, not in India. Right? But we have done well, we've grown, we've established ourselves. See, today, Indian companies are much larger, profitable. Their profits are significantly higher as a percentage higher than these companies. Have good cash, good brand. The model has become mainstream. Market caps in many cases are higher than our competition. And we are investing in intellectual property, new models, all that stuff. So there is a confidence in saying that we can compete with these companies. Now, will we be the only leader? Probably not. There will be a leadership pool of 5, 6 companies and be a part of that leadership pool. That's all I think. So there are many analysts who are rating Infosys. If you look at the Waters magazine, they do a survey of financial services clients. They have rated Infosys as number 1 amongst all service providers, including global service providers, consistently for the last 4 years. Our customers are rated. In retail, and I don't think this press release has come out, again, the retail publication has polled our customers, not our customers, pool of customers that are Infosys rated number 1. The financial analyst who has put out a report, which probably is accessible on the web, Infosys rated number 1 amongst all companies. So, we will continue to execute well, continue to do well, continue to win with our customers. And that's how we will sustain. On any project, we will win some, we will lose some. The competition, especially some companies, a handful of companies have done extremely well in India, but many have not. But by doing that, they have actually not increased their profit margins significantly. That is something which they need to look at. Right? If you adopt this model, your profit margins should go up. That has not happened. So, when we compete in the financial markets, we have an advantage. When we compete for customers, we have a disadvantage because their reach is much higher. I won't name the competition. One of our competitors have 6,000 clients, we have 600 clients. They have 2,500 partners, we have probably few partners, less than 100. partner like, but you don't have partners. So their needs, etc. is significantly higher. That can only be solved over time. It don't get solved overnight. In the services business, those things happen. But we are doing it. We are making it happen. That's then the three problems. I gave you some ideas today. We have to have probably a much longer discussion about what goes on. But some of the things that come to mind: one, the impact of cloud computing on services business itself. Second, when you look at markets like India and China, which are supposed to be the high growth future large economies, GDM is no longer a value proposition that's relevant. So what is the value proposition that's relevant, and how do we compete in these markets? What is the difference between a developed market and a developing market? And how do we compete? Third, and this is a question which people ask me, and maybe you can answer now rather than me. Why are Indian companies not creating products? Right? Probably, you've written about it many times in your classes and things like that. So you can answer that question.
You just answered one question I was going to ask. But the other one, going back, why did you launch Chinese?
Because we firmly believe that from 2001 when we did the last change process around certification, we had only application development and maintenance. We had just launched BQ as a service. We had just launched consulting as a service. Organization had become multi-service, different career streams. We wanted lateral movement of people. There was no way of, a band, we call them employment bands. A band 6 in consulting and a band 6 in application development. There was no way to equate whether they were same or not. Right? So we have not done an exercise in scientifically looking at the HR models and things like value delivered and things like that, and saying, okay, the band 7 is equivalent to band 7 here, band 6 is equivalent to band 6 here, vice president here is equivalent to vice president here, etc., etc. So we have to identify the levels, we have to identify the competencies that are required, because when you promote people from, let's say, 7 to 6 or 6 to 5, etc., we need to clearly say that both of them are jumping the same hurdle. Or it's not fair in a large organization. Or we have to run these as silos and not allow people to move across. We were moving people from IPL to BP. And then the perception was that they were already on fast track, they got promotion, which I did not get, or they were given stock options, all kinds of fairness issues. And then issue related to the centrality of software being important to our life. And then today we have no choice, but if you had a choice, you would ask the plumber a certificate. Are you really a plumber? Before you allow them to test your understanding. Now, I see a requirement in software. You're developing complex systems today, which are going to, everything. Your car has software, your ECG machine has software. Now, how do you trust these things? What assurance do you have that it will work and it will not kill you? So, I strongly believe that there is a requirement for certification in this industry. Architects who design buildings have architecture degree. Architects who design complex software have nothing. So how do we do this? So there are multiple reasons why we said this is something we need to do. I'm evangelizing this with industry bodies, clients, etc., to create standardized definitions of competencies, certifications, so that we know people have the right level of certification to develop the software. Timing, of course, we can discuss.
Thanks for sharing your insights, first of all. You just mentioned about Infosys being a large organization, and just wondering, I mean, this is also a challenge with some of the other players who have become very big in very short span of time. Driving initiatives like IRAs, which is more like standardized across such a large organization, is proving to be a challenge. So, from an organization structure perspective, have you looked at, is there a concern? I know you didn't flag it in 3 points, but is there a concern to drive down centralization to a point where you can actually decentralize it across? You're a full services company now, so give more autonomy to some of the service lines, and not how do you manage these tensions within the organization?
So, if you want to decentralize, you need to have defined policies and defined mechanisms to measure. Decentralization without these is chaos. And a public company cannot be chaotic. A public company must have predictable ways of growing, of managing its own destiny. Any company must manage its own destiny. You decentralize without controls, you decentralize without measures, you decentralize without policies. It's chaos. Everybody will do whatever they want, and then that's chaos. A startup company can afford to do that because there is no expectation of that. And that's why 7 out of 10 companies, startup companies fail. Well, of course, last companies also fail. They fail because I think they are not putting proper controls in place. Control is not about centralization or empowerment. It is actually empowerment follows systems and processes. Empowerment follows defined methods. See, I employ you and I don't tell you anything. You do whatever you want. Then how do after 1 year I come to you and say, what have you done? Should I promote? Because I don't even know whether you've added value to the company. Because I've not told you. So, to give you the freedom to do what I want you to do, or to what you, I must have a discussion with you. Do you really want to be in Infosys? Is that what you want to do in life? And if you want to be in Infosys, these are the options that you have. And if you choose this option, this is how you will get a promotion. Then I can let you go and do what you want. So to me, when you want to decentralize, you have to define certain things. You don't micromanage. You don't stand behind and look at what you do. That's what I will do if I don't have definitions. Because I have to stand behind and look at what I do. I have to micromanage. If I don't have to micromanage, I have to create metrics for measurement. I have to define things. Once I do that, I can let people go. Because then I know, they know exactly what needs to be done. Then they can figure out how. See, the what has to be defined. And the how is also defined in some way through the values and the ethics and things that we have defined. So if you're within those frameworks, then you have the freedom to work. And that's how I see it. Now, how do we then bring a small company culture within a large organization? It is about each manager behaving, he or she is empowered to do what they want, the freedom to do what they want, within those constraints. Everybody has constraints today. There's an expected behavior as a student. There's no unlimited freedom in this. Everything has constraints. And in an organization, there are certain constraints. Once you define those constraints, then you're free to do the rest of the task. That's how I see it.
Another question around your media business. I want to know how integrated it is with your technology and consulting business, and what are your plans to grow it?
It's completely integrated. When we started, we thought that we will spin it off as a public limited company, etc. So we had an external investor, we own 80%, we own 20%. Quickly we decided that it must be integrated. We bought over the investor, it's 100% owned by Infosys. It's like a division of Infosys today. We offer many services together with the rest of the company. So for example, our platform-based BPO, which is a cloud-based service, is BPO plus infrastructure management, some application development, maintenance, system integration, all bundled together vertically. And that's an integrated service. So BPO is now part of the rest. Completely different.
How do you plan to further grow? Is the platform approach?
Both. So, see, you don't know how fast these things will be absorbed or taken up, right? So, adoption of cloud, I don't think anybody can predict it. So, you offer discrete services, you offer cloud. Let the client choose. And depending on adoption, we will figure out later how do we manage this.
Bioinformatics as a challenge or an opportunity
No, right now we are not looking at bioinformatics. We are doing peripheral work in bioinformatics because bioinformatics requires management of a lot of data, information, etc., huge databases. So we are supporting some clients, especially the pharma clients, on their drug discovery and the FDA process and managing huge amount of data, etc., but not in the biotech.
You talked about multiple growth engines that were started in the initial part of this decade, and Infosys Consulting was one such growth engine. You started with the intent of getting that kind of expansion growth, plus an additional objective of building that trust with the client, bringing more value-added services. Whereas if you see the contribution coming in from Infosys Consulting over the last 5-7 years has not been really that significant. Where do you see that in 5 years from now? Do you see that there's an issue, or is that really working the way it should have been?
See, today they have grown faster. Simple answer is yes, because we want everything to go very fast. But has it contributed? Yes, significantly to Infosys. See, what externally is visible is Infosys Consulting as a subsidiary, which is a statutory requirement, and that's not entire revenue of Infosys Consulting. So its impact has been significant. We do integrated solutions for our clients consulting plus the implementation work. And if you define it that way, and many of our competitors define that way, our consulting plus package implementation plus system integration is about 25% of our revenue. Margins are very good. We are able to win against our tier 1 competitors, consulting companies. We are able to do large transformation projects. We are winning more and more of those. We are aggressively recruiting. So it is doing what it's supposed to do. Could it have grown faster? Maybe yes.
In the interest of time, I have last two questions.
Okay.
So this is not specific to Infosys, but more about the IT industry. Recently, a couple of us attended the NASSCOM summit on inclusivity and diversity. And maybe my opinion is subjective, but the feeling I got is the industry is more or less paying lip service to it rather than doing anything significant. I'll qualify that the nature of jobs that the IT industry can offer seems to be, for example, if you look at Indian society and women in particular, there seems to be a good fit in terms of providing the opportunity which overcome all the traditional barriers that we typically have, societal barriers. So, do you think at an industry level sufficient efforts are being put in given the opportunity that the industry can provide?
So we have 34% women and Infosys. If you look at the entire company. I was just looking at this class and they said 4 women in this class. So a university is supposed to be providing equal opportunity, right? But it doesn't represent what it's supposed to. So is it making a change in society? My answer is yes. When I look at the breadth of our recruitment pool, we're going to all over the country, recruiting from tier 2, tier 3 villages, etc. There are many life-changing stories when I look at our employees. Okay. This was written up in newspapers. and I don't know whether I'm not right, she is still an employee or not an employee, I don't know. This is a Muslim girl from Andhra Pradesh who did extremely well in SSLC, but she got married to a person who was a street vendor selling eatables, I think, street corners. But fortunately for her, she decided that she will continue in the education. She did very well in +2 engineering, got new business. Now her salary and her husband is still a street. There are many such stories about life-changing experiences. 40% of the new employees that are joined Infosys have one or both parents was not completed test. First member of their family who finished engineering. Many of them within the first 2-3 years buy a car, buy a house, or buy a flat. It is changing life and it's changing life across. But remember that this is a small industry. It employs 20 lakh people, 2 million people. So we can talk about changes, but it's a small industry. We can only touch so many people. Don't put too much expectations also. And that's why I said, no, this class doesn't represent. You can't expect this class to change India. You can't expect India, Infosys to change India, or IT industry to change India. We're doing what we are supposed to do. We are making some impact. I believe it's small. But that's how it is. We need massive change across the society. You have addressed the issue of dropout at primary schools, secondary schools, all kinds of problems here. That's too big a task for the IT industry to take on. It's a society thing. Glasses, to build glasses, to the global spending. Having said that, because it's grown 20%, we hope that India will become larger for sales in the future. Second part of the question I actually gave us an assignment for you. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. We could go on and on, but unfortunately we have to stop. I have to catch a flight later today. But I will spend maybe a few minutes informally talking to you. So thank you all, and maybe after you digested all this and talked over it and etc., maybe we can have one more session sometime so that we can have more interactions. Thank you all very much. All of you.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for taking time and sharing your thoughts with us. So we would like you to request